What if there was a military strategy that could pretty much guarantee you win a fight before it even started? Sounds kind of like science fiction, right? But believe it or not, its origins are incredibly ancient. Today, we're going to unpack a really powerful idea that connects the way modern wars are fought directly to some timeless wisdom. All right, so let's get into it. To find this secret, we're actually going to start with a modern military doctrine, one that, on the surface, seems almost unbeatable, a way of fighting that's designed to take all the guesswork out of who's going to win. You've almost certainly heard this term before, asymmetric warfare, probably on the news. The whole idea is really simple. You create a mismatch in power so huge, so lopsided, that the result is basically a foregone conclusion. It's not about having a fair fight, it's about making sure the fight is over before it really even begins. And this isn't just some abstract theory. I mean, look at recent history. The United States has used this strategy again and again in conflicts from the Gulf War all the way to the intervention in Libya. The goal has pretty much always been to establish such total military and tech superiority that victory is, well, an inevitability. This chart really gives you a sense of the kind of disparity we're talking about. To put some real numbers on it, just look at the Kosovo War. People at the time literally called it a war without suspense. Why? Because the power imbalance was just staggering. We're talking a 700-to-1 economic advantage and a 400-to-1 military advantage for NATO forces. I mean, the gap was just completely overwhelming. So when you look at all these examples, you'd be totally forgiven for thinking, okay, this has got to be a pretty cutting-edge 20th century idea, a strategy born from modern technology, economics, and global politics, right? But what if I told you that the fundamental blueprint for this so-called modern doctrine wasn't dreamed up in the Pentagon? What if it was written down by a Chinese general more than 2,500 years ago? And here's our source, the great strategist Sun Tzu. To describe what a guaranteed victory looked like, he used this brilliant metaphor, comparing two ancient Chinese units of weight, the yi and the zhu. So what on earth was he talking about? Let's quickly define these terms. A yi was a pretty hefty unit of weight, about 24 ounces. A zhu, on the other hand, was tiny. I mean, you needed 24 of them just to make up a single ounce. And here's the crucial part, the ratio. When you do the math, 1 yi is equal to 576 zhu. So you see, Sun Tzu wasn't talking about having a little bit of an edge. He was describing a massive, overwhelming, crushing 576-to-1 advantage. It's the exact same logic we saw back on that Kosovo War slide, just written 2,500 years earlier. And this just perfectly illustrates the first part of his strategy. He's basically saying, don't get into a fair fight. You prepare so thoroughly, you build such a massive advantage in strength, that victory becomes a simple matter of physics. The outcome is already a done deal. Okay, but this is where it gets even more interesting. Sun Tzu argued that just having this overwhelming power isn't enough. I mean, having a giant reservoir of potential energy is one thing, but knowing how to release it as an unstoppable force, well, that's the real key to victory. And he explained this with another incredible metaphor. Unleashing your forces like a torrent of pent-up water, just bursting from a mountain gorge. This explosive release of all that built-up power, this unstoppable force, is what he called momentum, or shi. So this whole concept of shi is really a two-step process. Step 1, you accumulate that overwhelming force. Think of it as a massive body of water held back by a dam. And then, step 2, you unleash that momentum at the perfect moment. A sudden, focused, unstoppable release that just sweeps away everything in its path. It's all about combining that potential energy with kinetic energy. So let's bring these two ideas together for a second. First, you have to build that overwhelming advantage, that 576-to-1 ratio, the yi against the zhu. And then you have to learn how to unleash that advantage like a torrent of water. And when you put it all together, the massive advantage of the yi v zhou and the unstoppable momentum of shi, you realize this isn't just some ancient philosophy. It's literally the 2,500-year-old source code for asymmetric warfare. The core principle is exactly the same. It's not new at all. It's timeless. Okay, so this is all fascinating military history, but why does it matter to you? Well, because this way of thinking isn't just for generals on a battlefield. It's actually an incredibly powerful framework for achieving success in our own lives, both personal and professional. We can apply this using the exact same two steps. First, you build your yin. What does that mean? It means you patiently, quietly accumulate your advantage, your skills, your knowledge, your network, your resources. You get so good at what you do that your advantage is undeniable. Then, step 2, learn to release the she, that momentum. When the critical moment comes, that big presentation, the job interview, the launch of your business, you apply all that power you've built up with total focus and decisiveness. So, the final thought I really want to leave you with is this. We live in a world that feels full of competition, right? But maybe winning isn't about out-hustling everyone else in the moment. Maybe true success comes from preparing so deeply and building such a powerful advantage that when the opportunity finally comes, the contest is already over before it's even begun. The only question left is, where will you build your ye?